Alright, hello everyone. We're on lab 4 with exercise 1, modeling this this wheel that they would put on a large valve so you can put some torque on it to open and close it. So the two main things that we will learn in this lab are the sweep feature and then how to use what's called project geometry to basically link different parts on a drawing, or to link different features on a drawing, I should say. So one thing we notice about this part that is different than other parts that we've drawn is that they have a curved section here. So before we've used extrusion, we've used revolution, we've even used loft as well, but neither of those features can do this. I'm going to call this is the spoke. It connects the hub with the handle out here. This is called the spoke. So they cannot do this spoke because that spoke is not a straight extrusion. It's a curved it's a curved spoke. So this is why we need to use sweep. All right. So let me show you how to do that. The first thing I'm going to start out with is drawing the hub. So let's start a new part. Make sure it's a millimeter part. And let's create a sketch on this base plane so that we can create the hub to be 80 millimeters. Okay. Now I'm not going to draw the hole right now, and you should not either, and I'll show you why in a little bit here. So just start with the base circle here. So let's extrude that up a distance of 50. Okay. Before I go any further, it's a good practice to save it early on. This will be lab 4. Okay. Make sure you save your work early on. All right. So I have this. Now, I told you I did not want you to at first make this hole here that's in the center of the hub. Now, to demonstrate why I don't want you to make it, I'm going to make it, and then I'll show you the problems that creates later on. So at this point, if you're following me, do not create this hole right now. Just watch me do it now, and then we'll create it later. Okay? Alright, so I would create hole with a diameter of 40, and let's use the center point rectangle to make this keyway here. Alright. Okay, so if you did make the hole at first, this is what it would look like, and then I'll show you here in a second why we don't want that. Okay, now I want to create the spokes. Now the dimensions of the spoke are given here in this drawing. Okay, so this path right here is what we call the sweep path, and their profile is just a circle. Now this is not the sweep profile. This is a profile that makes the wheel. The profile that makes the path, or sorry, that makes the spoke is perpendicular to this sweep path here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is create a sketch that makes the path that the sweep will go along. Okay, so let's create a sketch. Make it on a plane like this. Okay, now I'm going to click on cut graphics here, or slice graphics, sorry. So you can see what that does. It makes it so I'm just looking at the plane that I'm drawing on. Okay, alright, now I'm going to use what's called project geometry here, and let me show you, but before I do it, the reason why I want to do that. So the height of this hub here is 50 millimeters, and the sweep path will start right in the middle of it. I could dimension the line to be 25 millimeters down from the top, but that would not capture my design intent. The design intent says that the sweep path will always start in the middle of this hub, even if it's, so if it's 100 millimeter height here, well, then it should start a distance of 50 millimeters down from the top. So I'm going to create a line that goes from the bottom to the top, so I can start my sweep path in the middle of that line. Okay, so first I want to project geometry, and I'll show you what that does here. I'm going to project this line and this line into the geometry. Notice they turned yellow for me. Okay, now I'm going to create a construction line that starts here and goes up to this line here. Okay, now, so the important thing about that is now that I have a line that is tied to the bottom and the top, so then when I start my sweep path, I can start it, there's the midpoint of that line. So I know it's always in the middle. Okay, now you say, well, why did you use project geometry? Let me back up here and show you why I had to do that. If I click on the line tool, let's make it a construction line. I would start here. Now if I drag up, I want it to snap at this edge here, but notice it's not snapping, meaning that yellow dot there that shows my cursor, it doesn't snap to this edge. I don't know where that edge is. Okay? And so in order for this sketch to know where that top edge is, I have to say, basically I tell it, hey, go get this edge and bring it into the sketch. Okay, so that's all project geometry does. Project geometry says, hey, let's take this geometry and let's project it or bring it into the sketch. And notice that yellow line that appeared. Okay, now that that yellow line is there, watch the difference now. Okay, so now when I click on this line, I go from here, notice it snaps green. Okay, the green means it's right on top there of that edge. Okay, so that's why I needed to use project geometry. Alright, so now let's draw the sweep profile. So let's start with a line and let's make sure it's on the midpoint here. Let's first come horizontal. Okay, now I click and let go. Now with my cursor still on the end, I'm going to click and hold this time, and if I click and hold and I drag, notice it's creating a curve. So I'm still holding my mouse down, and notice the tangent constraint that has appeared here. Okay, the tangent constraint. So now if I let go, there's a curve, and then I can continue out here. Notice this is not tangent. If I keep bringing it up, the tangent constraint will snap. There it is. And I can click again. And now click escape. So there is the sweep path right there. Okay. Another way to do it, so let's say you're not able to get this curved piece like this. Well, you just draw two lines, and then you can use an arc like this. Okay, and this arc, then I can select the start, the end, and some midpoint. Now I'm going to do it not correct at first. Okay, there's an arc. Notice this is not tangent here. Well, I can fix that by using the tangent constraint. Okay, and I can do the same thing here. Alright, so there's a straight section, a curved section, and then a straight section. So let's just now go add your dimensions to this sweep path to define it. Okay, so I'll leave you to do that. Here's the straight section from this tip to here. Okay, obviously it didn't like something here. It said I tried to add in this radius dimension, okay, and it said, oh, it didn't like this radius. Let's try to figure out why. Let's delete. Maybe I've added a dimension that conflicts with this. Let's delete this dimension. Wonder if I can drag this. Let's change this to be 150. Okay. That's no problem. I've got the 75, the 250. So notice that error came up when that means the sketch was over constrained. Let's now try to add in this 100. Okay, it's not working. I see why it's not working, because I've defined this as 200. What if I make this 250? Okay, that's 250. Now let's try this. Okay, now that works. So notice I had the error there. That error, I had accidentally defined this 250 as 200, which was impossible for all these other, this to be 75, this to be 100, this to be 150. That was impossible for those three to be defined in that way, and this to be 200. So there we go. That's 200. Or sorry, this is 250. So now we're okay there. All right. So let's finish that sketch. So now I have the sweep path, and now I want to make the sweep profile. That profile is going to be perpendicular to this path. So let's create a plane that's perpendicular to this line that goes through this point. Let's go back to my work planes here. The way to do that is down here. Select this axis and now select this point, and there's a profile, or sorry, there's a work plane that's perpendicular to this line here. Now I can start a sketch on this, and I can draw a circle of diameter 30. And now here's what the sweep does. Now that here's my path, here's my profile. So here's sweep. Okay, it's automatically selected the profile. The profile is that circle. Now the path is this path. And notice what it does there. It sweeps that profile along that path. All right. And now I click OK. And there's one. Now remember, I said do not create the hole at the beginning. I'll show you why that's the case, because now if I look here, oh, that's not good, right? The spoke goes into the hole right here. So this is why we don't want to create the hole at the beginning. If we create the hole at the very last step, then it would cut through this part of the spoke here. Okay. So let's actually take away this hole that I've made. That was done with this extrusion, so I can right click and delete that, and now it's gone there. Okay, there's one. Now there's one spoke. To get the other four, we just need to pattern that. So let's do a circular pattern of that sweep, and let's use the rotational axis of this. And how many spokes are there? There's 5. There you go. So there's 5 spokes. Now I need to get the hand wheel that connects the ends of all these spokes here. Okay. Well, that can be done with a revolution. So let me show you. Here, I want to create a sketch. Which plane is that? No, that's the bottom plane, not that plane. Okay, we want a plane like this. So if I create a sketch on this plane, and then I draw a circle here and revolve that circle, then I'll have the hand wheel. Simple enough. Now, watch this. Here, let's slice the graphics. Okay, so again, I'm only looking at the plane that I'm sketching on. Okay, if I click on circle and I want to try to draw a circle that is right here on this edge, is it snapping? No, it's not snapping. My yellow cursor is not turning green. Okay, so this is where we would want to use project geometry, meaning I would bring the geometry of the spoke into the sketch so that then the spoke is always connected to the sketch. Okay, now, so if I was doing it correctly, I would click on project geometry and click this, click the spoke here, and now I'm able to, it snaps green, you see that, and I can draw this circle. Okay, so again, you can add a dimension to that, dimension of 40. Okay, now I'm going to revolve this around the center, so let's make a center line. Now let's do a revolution. There it is. Okay, now I could go back and draw the hole here. But let me show you why it was really important to connect them. Okay, let's say if I have a design change in the part and I want to make this hand wheel a larger diameter. Well, I would do that by changing this sketch here where I defined the sweep profile. Look here, what if I change this? Let's make it 300. Okay. Well, look what happens. The wheel still stays attached. Okay. If I did not use project geometry, the wheel would not have stayed attached. So let me show you that. So let's undo here. All right. Let's delete this revolution. Okay. So let's say I sketched on this plane. Okay, so this is slice the graphics just like I was doing before, and I do not use project geometry. All I do is I say, oh, let's just draw it right there. That looks close, right? Let's make that a dimension of 40. Okay, let's drag this to be right there. You say, okay, that's nice. It looks on the end. I can finish this sketch. I can revolve this profile around. I forgot to make an axis here. That's okay. Notice, look here, I didn't make an axis, but I can go select an axis here. Which axis here is vertical? There you go, that axis. Okay, so there it is. You say, oh, that looks fine. What's wrong with that? Well, here's what's wrong with that. If I have a design change and I want to make the wheel bigger, I can edit this. Now let's make this 300. Finish the sketch. Oh well, that only changed the spoke. The spoke was not connected to the wheel, so the wheel stayed that same diameter. Okay, and that's not good. So that's why we need to use project geometry so that we link these spokes with this handle here. Okay. So I can back up there. Okay, there we are. So that's why project geometry is extremely important. Now the last thing, if I make the hole now here at the end, well, then it will cut through the spokes and I won't have a problem here anymore. Okay, so there's that. Let's create, notice I'm using a center rectangle. Okay, I'm using a center rectangle with a width of 5. Now, why do I not make this 5? I want to make this 10 actually, because now the distance from here to here would be 5. Right? That distance would be 5. Okay. Let's finish that sketch. And now extrude this and this rectangle and extrude it as a cut. And let's make it go through everything. There it is. Now I need to fill in my eye properties, make the, what was the material? I think the material was cast iron here. Yeah, it's a cast iron hand wheel. So let's go find cast iron. There it is. Makes it 21.144 kilograms. Notice the color changed to where it looks like a cast iron type of a color. So there's that hand wheel. So hopefully you've seen why project geometry is important, especially when you want to connect different features in a part, so that when you make design changes later on, you don't have lots of trouble making those design changes. So there's that part. Now the other parts in this lab, I hope you can apply the things you've learned here in order to solve those problems. Keep it up, guys.